I think the first thing that I want to really kind of iterate strongly with this is out of all of the worksheets and frameworks and everything else that are in the program, a lot of them are used to kind of set stuff up and to help you kind of like get the momentum going. This is one that you will use consistently. I still use this when I'm getting ready to speak in an event or I'm getting ready to travel and I'm figuring out what to pack. Like this is a tool that you will use fairly consistently, not just in the beginning of things. And the more often you can go through and work through it this way, then the more intuitive the process becomes. And eventually you'll get to the point where you don't need to use the actual worksheet aspect of it at all, or you really only need to use it for bigger events. The goal is to get you to the point where it becomes very intuitive to think about this in the way that I'm going to outline for you guys. Make sense? Cool. Okay. So do either one of you guys have anything coming up, whether it's travel related or a big thing at work or a family event or something else like that, that you would like to go through and we can actually kind of do this together? Anything come
I
top of
do.
mind? You do? Okay. What do you have?
Yeah. My sister's wedding is the first week of October.
Awesome. Okay. That's exactly the kind of stuff that we want. So let's see here. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go through and we're going to talk about the actual physical function needs. So what you physically need your clothing to do for you. Then we're going to talk about the form needs, which is basically how what you want to communicate to yourself, what you want to communicate to the other guests. Basically, are we fitting in? Are we standing out? All of that type of stuff. Then we're going to go through and we're going to actually figure out what are all the things that you're going to wear and how you're going to wear it. And there's a couple ways that we can look at this. The first one is basically based entirely on what you currently own and how we can make it work best with what you do. Or sometimes it can feel like, man, I really am missing in the shirt department or whatever else. And so this can help us continue to find gaps in the closet. And so we can get better at plugging in those holes and it'll give us a good idea of what our shopping list stuff is. Make sense there?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. So from a function perspective, tell me what you need your clothing to do for you at the wedding.
So from a purely functional perspective, think that there might be a variety of temperatures because the ceremony's outdoors. It's going to be October. So around here, we can see a lot of variation in the temperature over the course of a day, depending on
Yeah.
where the sun is and everything. And then there may be indoor parts or dancing where it's warmer.
Okay. So temp variation, layers, and then dancing, it's going to be range of motion, probably breathability for that as well. So you're not just like sweating to death in it,
Right.
correct? Okay. Good. What else can you think of?
I'm going to be wrangling children.
Okay. So let's
That's
say
probably covered in range of motion.
child resistant,
Yeah.
right? That it's not like the cloth is so delicate that we're worried about anything that way, correct?
Right.
Okay.
And it is uh that's a good point about the fabrics and materials. With the wedding being outdoors to some extent, there may be a little bit of interaction with the dust or
Mm-hmm.
plants and things.
Okay, so we'll say we'll just say outdoor
Right.
appropriate. Okay, cool. Anything else you can think of function wise?
No.
Awesome. All right, form wise, tell me what's going to help you feel the most confident and the most present at the wedding? What's going to help you be the best guest you can be? Like, what do you want to be able to communicate from this regard?
I want to I want to dial in the right level of formality.
Okay.
It's I don't necessarily want to wear like a three-piece completely matching suit. Well, let me back up though and get to
Mm-hmm.
what I'm communicating before I think of the specifics.
Good.
So it's the first time that I'm really meeting most of her family.
Okay.
and I mean, of not her family, his family, her
Right.
fiance's family. And an interesting detail is that their business here is their regional distributors for Pendleton.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so it might be nice to make. I'm not a huge fan of the Pendleton look, but it might
Mm-hmm.
be nice to make a nod to it in some way.
I like that. Okay.
The other part is I kind of see myself in a unique role because I'm now, after my father died, I'm now like the most senior man on my sister's side of the family.
Right. Okay.
I'm not sure what that means. Yeah, dignity, head of household type of thing. And
Okay.
I also want to communicate to my own family who I haven't seen in a while that I'm well established
Oh,
here,
okay. Okay.
successful.
So let's say show accomplishment and comfort with status, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Anything else you can think of?
No, I think
Okay.
that hits the high points.
Yeah, this is a great list. Okay. And then obviously, as we go through this, then we can come back and add more to either of these as they come up if we need to. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Nick, this tracking for you so far? Yeah. Awesome. Okay. All right. So
I'm
let's
already thinking of mine. So yeah.
good. Good. Okay. It'll be fun to go through yours with you too. All right. So shirt. Do you have one in mind or that you already own, or is this a good idea to buy one? Tell me what you're thinking color wise, and then we'll talk through how to wear it and all that.
I am thinking that I might want to use this as an excuse to buy some things that are maybe missing from my wardrobe, especially because my wardrobe right now does not really reflect where I want to be based on what we've done over the past month or two.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I'm thinking that I don't want to be super like glossy or high sheen. I'm thinking more natural fibers, more natural look. So maybe like rather than a super white shirt, maybe something a little more cream colored.
Okay. Cool. So we'll say off-white. Probably something then what I'm thinking is like an Oxford weave so that we've got the because linen is probably going to be too summer specific since you're going in
Right.
October, but we want something that has a little bit more texture. It's going to be still a button-up shirt, so it checks the formality box, but it also brings it down a notch as well, right?
Yes.
Okay. What kind of collar do you want then? Do you want to go all the way casual and do a button down, or do you want a juxtaposition of something that's a little bit more like a spread collar and then playing with that there?
I think button down.
Okay. Okay, perfect. I'm going to go out on a limb and assume tucked in and sleeves uncuffed. Risky assumption, right?
No, I think that's right.
Okay, cool. All right. So does this work with color contrast and all of that for you? Does it work with your body?
Yes.
Okay. Does it work with what your archetype split is, where we're getting primarily refined with doses of both rugged and then conceptually a little bit rakish too?
Yes.
Okay. Does this work from a tribe perspective? I think this hits that Pendleton nod fairly well, where it's dressed up, but it's in a little bit more of that kind of rugged textured way. And I would
Yes.
imagine that that's also even going to be a little bit more appropriate in kind of like a New Mexico outdoor environment as well. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. From a taste perspective, do you like this? I mean, I assume so. Otherwise, you wouldn't be saying it.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Effort. The way that we can think about this, weddings are always a good example because you have kind of both ends of the spectrum where, for example, the dress that your sister is wearing, she's only wearing it that one time, but it's really important that she wears that dress. And so it's worth the effort in that regard because of how high the stakes are in that environment. The opposite end of the spectrum is if it's worth it in this regard, because yes, we're thinking about it ideally for the wedding, but you're also going to be able to wear it a bunch after that. You're going to be able to wear it to other weddings. You're going to be able to wear it to work. You're going to get a lot of other usage out of this. And so does it check either of those boxes for you?
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Okay, perfect. All right. So pants, I assume for you that what we're going to do is we're going to combine pants and outerwear, that we're looking at this like an actual suit, correct?
I am open to it being trousers and an odd
Okay.
jacket.
Tell me a little bit more about the venue and how formal the wedding is. Do you know what the groom's wearing? All of that kind of stuff.
I don't know what the groom's wearing, but you might be able to. I will. The venue is very kind of unique. So let me, if I can paste in a link, maybe you could open it.
Yeah. Okay, Tamaya. All right, let's look at that.
Yeah.
So let me actually go here. We're going to do a desktop share so we can see it all. Oh, cool.
Yeah, so that's the venue.
Okay.
So it definitely has a southwest
Mm-hmm.
to it, and we'll be, I think, doing both indoor and outdoor.
What do you think temps will be like?
Probably 70s.
Okay. Okay. All right. So where my head goes with this, what I immediately start to think of is the idea of doing like a cotton suit. Especially because that gives you the ability to, if we think about it from the effort perspective, when it's cotton, you can wear the trousers on their own, and you can wear the jacket as an odd jacket as a sport coat on its own as well. And so you get the versatility of having basically 3 different pieces that come out with this thing. I also think that if we're wanting to go with this kind of like dignity, head of households, show some accomplishment and comfort with status, that being able to wear a suit, but a more casual version of a suit, will help communicate that. And the only reason that I'm hesitant about going with a more like jacket and odd trouser combo is because, one, it feels like that jumps a little bit lower on the formality spectrum than what we want. And two, that would be a little bit more appropriate if we were in an environment that was like, I think this resort, if you were there in the summer, that would make more sense. Or if we were somewhere that it was a little bit cooler in the autumn and you were looking at like tweeds and flannels and that type of stuff. But to be able to find stuff that's going to be appropriately textured for the outdoor environment, and it's going to be able to be appropriately like on that, straddling that line between formal and casual, that's where my head goes as far as doing a cotton suit. How does that sound for you?
That sounds right. I don't think I've owned a cotton suit before,
Okay,
so it's kind of new to me.
cool. New in a fun way, or new in a like, I don't know, man, kind of way?
New in a fun way.
Okay, cool.
That's what we're here for, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And there is a difference. Like, one of the things that's important with this is that you want to trust your gut. There's a big difference between like, here's my comfort zone, and something that can kind of excite me to push me outside of it. And especially if I think about it and all of the framework that has been presented in the course and the coach, like if that's good, then that's fine. But I think a lot of times guys tend to override how important taste is, or how important feeling like yourself in your clothing is, because you may aesthetically and even tribally perfectly execute on something, but if you don't feel like yourself in it because it's pushed you too far outside of your comfort zone, then it's going to suck. You're not going to enjoy wearing it. Your body language is going to change. You're probably not going to wear it as frequently, so it's a waste of money. And so I always want you guys to do the gut check of, am I excitedly uncomfortable with this, or am I nervously uncomfortable with this? Because one is an easy yes. The other may need a few more tweaks to get to be the easy yes. Make sense?
It does.
Cool. Okay. So excited, yes. Nervous, yes.
Yes.
Awesome.
Excited, yes.
Okay. What color are you thinking?
I tend in these situations to default to something like a charcoal gray,
Okay.
which might be appropriate, but maybe I wonder if I'd go to that because it is the default and it feels safe.
Yeah.
Other than that, I might think a darker brown.
Yeah. Like a tobacco or something that's in the chocolate territory or something like that.
Right.
Okay. All right. So I am of the opinion, for a couple reasons, that you're better off going in the brown family than going into the charcoals. One is because of the color that we're already looking at as far as the shirt is concerned, where we're looking at a warm tone, and then doing that with something that is traditionally going to be cooler. You can find warm charcoals, but they're hard to do. That's going to throw things off. You also get a formality disparity here, where if we're doing a pure white on the shirt, then a charcoal suit would make more sense. And then also the environment, not only in which you find yourself for the wedding, but also in which you find yourself in your general day-to-day life, living where you do, practicing the kind of law that you do, all of those things. I think that you could get away with a brown. You could probably get away with like a brown, a tan, an olive green, certainly a navy. Like there's some things that you could play with in there to be able to make a cotton suit work. But the one that's also going to be, from an effort perspective, that's going to be the most versatile for you will probably be in the dark brown territory as opposed to the charcoal.
Gotcha.
Okay. Nervous, nervous okay with that, or excited okay with the brown?
I'm okay with it.
Okay.
I'm okay with it.
Sometimes it's a little bit easier if you can actually see ideas of how this translates. So stuff like this. Or even like this. That's probably a little bit more sheen than what we want. But something like this.
Yeah, something
Right?
like that.
Okay.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. So let's go back over here. So we're going to say brown cotton trousers. Ideally, and we can do this ideally because we're just planning it, and you may decide to go custom on this route, and then we actually can do it ideally. Flat front, single pleat, double pleat. What's the ideal there for you?
What do you think how do those affect like the formality?
Great question. Okay. So I would say that a flat front is going to be the most minimal and simple, the least attention getting. Okay.
Right.
The double pleat is going to be on the opposite end of that, where it's going to be the one that's the most kind of out there, especially because if we do a double pleat, that means we're going to do it right by going higher waisted. So you don't look like you're wearing like Dockers khakis, as a Best Buy employee or something that way. Right. And so we would be pushing that aesthetic window a little bit by going higher waisted with a full double pleat, and something right in the middle would be still higher waisted, but with a single pleat. All of those from a formality perspective, I think are going to check the boxes relatively the same. And so it has more to do with like, how much attention do you want to be garnering for yourself? Which one are you going to feel the most comfortable and confident in? Those types of variables as opposed to the formality one.
I think the single pleat.
Cool. Okay. Okay. Do you want to do what I would recommend then is doing a cuff on the bottom, because that's going to help them drape, right? So we'll do cuffed at hem. Do you want to do it with a belt? Do you want to do side adjusters so that you're going beltless? Do you want to do it with like braces, like suspenders with buttons on the inside so that it stays up, but there's a cleaner line?
For this event, the suspenders might be nice.
Especially when we're talking about like range of motion and dancing and all of that. It's going to help keep things really well there.
Yeah.
So you can do both. What I usually do when I have suits made is I have them do the side adjusters so that I can kind of cinch it up depending on where my weight is and it'll stay up on my waist. But then I also have them put brace buttons on the inside so that when I want to wear the braces, I can. If I don't want to, then I don't have to. The only thing that you're really committed to is if you decide you want to do belt loops, then it does look silly to have it with belt loops without a belt on. And so that's like your full commitment.
Right. Yeah, so that's probably makes sense to do the side adjusters and the brace buttons.
Cool. Perfect. Okay. So work with body. We'll make that work with fit and coloring and all of that, right?
Yes.
Okay. Archetype. There's again some elements of the rakishness by going with a fit that's a little bit more unique, and also some elements of the rugged by going with a textured material like cotton, but mostly refined. Okay.
Yes.
How does this work tribe-wise, especially with what we're trying to communicate up here?
I think it works.
Okay. Taste-wise, we know we can be good on that. And then effort-wise, dude, super versatile because you could take that brown jacket and wear it with dark jeans or light jeans. You can wear those trousers with a t-shirt, or you can wear those with any button up. Like you've got a lot of range to be able to play with as far as some versatility coming out of this stuff.
Right.
Cool.
Cool.
Okay. All right. Let's jump down here real quick. So we're gonna do this as brown cotton suit jacket. I assume single-breasted as opposed to double-breasted, right?
Yeah, definitely single-breasted.
Okay. And then I would also recommend going notch lapels as opposed to peak, because that's what's going to help you be able to wear it as a sport coat. If it's peak, then it's trying to be too formal.
Right.
Okay. Any other details on that?
No.
Cool. Okay. And same thing, we know we're going to be good here with all of this as far as making that work. Okay. Let's talk shoes then. What do you want to do here?
I think I will wear a pair of boots that I already own.
Okay.
They're nice. Trying to remember the brand. I think they're Taft.
Oh yeah, I know. The owner just lives up the hill from me here, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Corey's a good dude.
So, and they look, they'll work, I think, with the brown suits because they're kind of a lighter brown, and they have what's it called? Let me see.
Is it one of the two-tone ones where it's the cap toe and it has like the leather on the toe and the heel and then a different material throughout the rest of the upper? No,
it's not two-tone. I haven't seen it yet because it's got some wait, it might have looked like the one you just passed. That one that says Mac, it's lighter than that. And it doesn't have that change in color, but it has
the
that
burnishing.
sort of, yeah.
So
it
like
has
this?
that sort of, it's this. Yeah,
Okay,
that's the
awesome.
one.
Okay. Yeah, that's really cool because this is light enough that as long as we're doing a darker brown like the ones we were looking at, then there's going to be some contrast there. And so that'll work really well. And this will be really good from a formality perspective too. And also be really good that you're going into October. You would be looking more at like loafers or something else if you're doing this now or a month ago, but this going into October is appropriate too. Very cool. Okay. Yeah, I think that's a great option. Cool. Okay. So we know that works there. That actually really, I think, ties this all together in a way that works really well. I think that's also going to play to some of this Pendleton aspect because it's a little bit more rugged of a boot, but it's still in a dress style where it doesn't have a lug sole or anything else like that. And we know that we're
Right.
good here, and we know that we're good here because we already have it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Socks. Honestly, this is where I would recommend just doing like a brown over the calf sock. Just
Yeah.
keep it super simple. Okay. Okay. Headwear. Are you wanting to do anything as far as a hat or anything like that? Are you going to be outside enough you want to worry about that, or is that just an NA?
I think it's an NA.
Okay, that's easy. All right. Anything different as far as glasses or eyewear?
I'm not gonna buy new glasses for this, but I've got a couple options that I already own. Probably what I'm wearing now,
Okay.
but I've got a couple other options.
Walk me through why you're thinking these as opposed to the others.
Well, I guess maybe for parts of it, we're outside and maybe wearing some of my prescription sunglasses. I also have. Okay, so I have two that I purchased from Warby Parker earlier this year. This is one of them, and they look. Well, this is what my wife told me that the new ones I bought look a lot more contemporary,
Gotcha.
whereas what I wear looked a little dated, I guess. Because the ones I had previously that still work because it's the same prescription are a little bit narrower and not as kind of thick in the frame.
So they look like you're trying to hide that you're wearing glasses instead of leaning into it.
Right.
Gotcha. Yeah. This is the better call. Let's be unapologetic about it.
Right. The other option from this are kind of similar, but they're actually a little thicker on the top, and then there's no bottom frame, which is kind of unique look.
Yeah, like a Clubmaster style, right?
Yeah.
Cool. So I would say that can lend itself, that can get a little bit more vintage and also a little bit more kind of this way. It'll age you a bit more, and it will also, let's make it a word, it will also nerd you a little bit more.
Right.
And so it's the trade-off on that. I don't think that there's necessarily, both of them you can make work. It's just one is going to lean a little bit more into the nerd territory, and the other one is going to lean a little bit more neutral.
In general, I don't mind leaning in a nerd direction, but I don't think that's what we're going for here.
Awesome. Okay. So we're going to say, what are these? The black frame Warby Parkers?
They're actually two-tone. You can't see it here, but it's like a brown blue two-tone frames.
Very cool. Okay. Okay. And then last thing is accessories. This is where we can talk about ties, pocket squares, the color of the braces, if you're going to do like a watch or any sort of jewelry or anything like that. So walk me through this.
So far, I'm happy with where we are and what I'm seeing in this, but it's also very monochrome.
Yeah.
So far. I think we really need to bring in a little bit of, not too far, but I feel like the accessories are really going to make this look in some ways. And I want to be a little bit on the bold side.
Okay.
And I'm thinking, I don't know whether I would necessarily like it would, the safe option, what everyone expects is that it's a tie. Right?
Yeah.
But what if it's an ascot? I don't know.
Oh, okay. So going that far with it, that's fun.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this. Is some sort of neckwear necessary, or are we better off going tieless and leaving a couple of buttons undone and then doing any sort of pop by focusing on a pocket square instead? Does that bring it down and also make it look more comfortable that you're living that way, a little bit more celebratory, or is that too casual and we are wanting to do some sort of neckwear?
I think that brings it down too much for
Okay.
the wedding ceremony itself.
Okay. So my only hesitation with doing an ascot as opposed to anything else is that that is far enough outside the aesthetic window that you may start stealing some attention from the bride and groom.
Right.
And this is their show and not yours.
Right.
If you don't feel like that's too big of a risk, then let's find a way to make that work and have some fun. If you do feel like that's too big of a risk, then we can find some other ways to create some pop in there.
The problem is I don't know what they're going to be wearing.
Right. Well, and it's not even necessarily based on what they're wearing. It's just how infrequently we would see somebody in an ascot or a scarf or a cravat. I like that's already far enough outside the standard aesthetic window that unless this is a thing that's particular to your family tribe, it's going to be an outlier and an attention getter either way.
Right. Is probably, for that reason, it's probably better to go with, probably just have to do the tie
Okay.
then. And I'm thinking maybe I like the look of like a woven.
Mm-hmm. Do you know what grenadine is? Like a grenadine tie?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
I think something like that would be very appropriate because if we go too silky, then the juxtaposition doesn't work. Actually, this is not for
Right.
the wedding, but like you could do this so well. And so we want something that's like a knit tie or a grenadine or a linen or something else that way where we've got texture that's commensurate with the rest of what we're doing with the look, right?
Right.
Okay. What color? And are you thinking a solid or something? Like I personally, here's my personal bias is I think something like this, that's the only amount of pattern that you're going to need, and let the suit and the material of it and the fact that you wear it comfortably when everybody else is probably feeling a little bit stuffy in their suits, like let all of that be the statement maker rather than having all of those great details be hidden by a tie that has too much pop for it.
Yes. Yeah, I agree.
Right. So this is where we would look at something like actually that bright blue, that would be really cool against those
Interesting. Yeah.
because that's good contrast, and that would be really good contrast, like really good for your contrast type as well, right?
Right.
I think that would be really fun. I wasn't even thinking that color. I was going more in kind of these simple, like the darker greens or the maroons or stuff like that. But that's really pretty cool. Tell me where your head's at.
Yeah, I agree with that. I would have defaulted to like a dark blue, like a
Mhm.
navy or hunter green or something, but I could see this lighter blue.
Cool. So let's do that for now. And obviously, you're not committed on this, so we can change it. Okay. Do you want to do just a plain white linen square then?
Yes,
Okay.
that works.
And then what about for the braces?
I think my initial take would either be a dark blue or a brown that's darker than the suit. And I'm not sure
Ooh,
why
going real
that, but
dark. That's interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, Nick, you're totally right. Just having the suit that fits well and that's like the attention getter. That's where things are going to get really good. Okay, let's see. I just want. Olive could be cool.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
But otherwise, you're thinking something dark like a plain navy.
Yeah.
What would you get the most use out of outside the wedding?
Probably I it's unlikely until my wardrobe changes that I'll be using them outside the wedding at
Mm-hmm.
all.
Okay, so we can really just focus on it for that.
Yes.
Okay. So what really speaks to you? Because this is where you get up. I think the wine would be awesome. Navy's going to play it safe. The olive would be really cool. Any of these warm tones that aren't so close that it looks like we're trying to match and missing, I think could work really well.
Right. I wonder with the olive, I wonder whether it's an issue that it doesn't, I don't know if it doesn't relate to anything else in what we're doing. Does it
Gotcha.
need to?
No, I would say it doesn't. Especially because we're not going for like really super attention seeking with it. And so the fact that it is a different color that's being pulled in without being attention seeking creates the right kind of attention that I think we're after.
Right. Well, then let's put olive
Cool.
in the sheet.
Okay. Okay. All right. So we're going to go back through and we're going to check everything. Okay. So based on all of this, do you think this makes a good first impression with his family?
Yes, definitely.
Awesome. Pendleton nod while still feeling like it's you as opposed to just putting on a costume.
Do you think we are? Do you think we've given enough of a nod to Pendleton?
Okay, the only thing that I would think of that would be a little bit different would be to maybe do like a um I know that they have these like these silk scarves that you could do a pocket square out of something like this that's actually from them that could be pretty cool.
Right.
So maybe something going that route as opposed to the plain white. If we wanted to turn it up more, I think you're pretty good as far as like being in the arena without necessarily being a Pendleton guy with what we've
Right.
chosen. But if you want to take it a step further, this is the route I would go.
Gotcha. Okay, let's leave it as is, but I'll think about doing
Cool.
something with the pocket square.
Awesome. Okay. You feel like this hits that dignity head of household pretty well?
Yes.
Awesome. Shows accomplishment and comfort with status. I would argue a big yes on that one. Like you're wearing a more casual suit when everybody else is wearing their one and only like dressed up formal suit, right? Okay. This gives you variation as far as layers. You can shed the jacket. We've got options there, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Range of motion. I think as long as it's made well, and especially one of the things that we can put in here would be like soft shoulder construction.
Yes.
That's going to give you good range of motion. Cotton is also going to be it's going to be fairly breathable if we go with like a lighter weight, which because of where you live, you don't need to go heavyweight. We're not looking at like corduroy or like summer weight cottons are going to be fine. Cotton is also going to be much better as far as child resistant and outdoor appropriate. So I think it checks all these boxes really well. Right?
Yeah. I think
Okay.
we're in good shape.
Yeah. And then the last thing to do, and we've already kind of subconsciously done this, is just make sure that even though all these things are awesome on their own, that they do work together. So we've got the off-white with the brown, with the lighter brown, the brown that keeps that together. We got the two-tone with the Parker. And then this is where we get just a little bit of personality to come through. These colors and textures and everything, this all works really, really well together. So this is a win.
Yeah, I think so.
Cool. Do you think that you would have arrived here at all as far as what to wear to the wedding without having gone through this process?
No, definitely.
Kind
Definitely
of
not.
kind of cool to think about it this way, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's very helpful.
Yeah. And my favorite thing about this is knowing you, all of these things are things that you'll be able to wear beyond it as well.
Right.
Yeah. And so not only do we get to check the box of like looking great, being fully present, awesome at the wedding, but hey, now I've just added a bunch of cool new stuff to my wardrobe that I'm going to get a lot of use out of day to day too.
Perfect. Yeah, that's what I want. Well, it's nice to use this as an excuse to pick up some pieces that I can use.
It's a fun
otherwise.
excuse. It's a really fun excuse. Yep. Awesome. Okay, Nick, let's move on to you, shall we, bud?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, tell me what you've got coming up you want to work through.
So I'm going on a business trip to Greece, to an island out there, Chios, and
That's awesome.
yeah, it's for a mastic gum company that I'm
Oh, yeah.
part owner of, and so we're going to be going out to the growers' fields, meeting with the main association that we buy the gum from, and trying to take them out to dinner, and trying to get some pictures as well of me and my business partner. And I just want to look good out there, like
Mhm.
represent the tribe that, we're selling to, like our customers, and, show that we're a part of, we're, in that tribe, and we understand the aesthetic and everything like that. As well as just represent the company well,
Mhm.
especially in photos or to other people that we meet out there. And I guess so. I'm thinking of, as well as there's weather out there for the location. It's going to be in October, so it's
Okay.
slightly cooler. It's not going to be like peak summer months,
Right.
but so there's a little bit of concern about that. We're going to be going on like 8-hour, 10-hour days where we're trying to pack in as much as possible. So from a function perspective, it has to be comfortable and, able to be out in the field as well as, just walking around. And I also am, want to purchase some new things for this, but I don't want it to be like, one of my concerns is that it comes off as like some new clothes as a new uniform that I got just to try to stand out, or
You want to get some
good.
reps in before
Uh,
so it feels natural.
Yeah. I still
Okay.
want it to be somewhat like, I don't want to just purchase like a uniform from Dandy Del Mar, like just like one
Right.
of their matching sets,
Right.
and look like I'm too far out of my comfort zone when it comes to something like that.
Okay.
So I think that some of the clothing that I purchase will be usable around here as well, and
Mhm.
maybe even wear it beforehand just so I make sure it fits well and everything like that.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think that kind of sums up most of those first two columns. It's going to be like mid 70s and then maybe down to lower 60s at night, which is what it says there. Yeah, so perfect. That's from what I've been reading is what the temperature is going to be like.
Okay.
What
That makes sense. Okay. Any other form needs you can think of?
um I think just fit is really important to me as well. Sometimes with some of the clothes that I'm thinking of, like these linens or, looser cottons, like I feel sometimes that I'm like swimming in the shirt,
Gotcha.
and that maybe is just me. Like maybe I need to get used to a looser fit, and I kind of always want to show off that I'm like in shape. So
Mhm.
I tend to like overly lean towards things that fit too tight on me.
Gotcha.
So I just want it to fit snug if that makes sense.
That makes
but
sense.
not like range of motion where I feel like the shirt, if I get a little sweat on me, that it's sticking to me.
Right. Yeah, and it won't wear as comfortably, both as far as like breathability, comfort, all of that when it's snug as it will if there's a little bit of room and some airflow. I think the big difference here is we want to make sure that it fits well in the shoulders as opposed to like coming down all past the deltoids. You've got a good snug but not tight fit that's in like the upper chest and the chest. And then we're good if there's a little bit of drape down through the waist and the stomach, because if you even think about that purely from just the aesthetic aspect, it's my shoulders and chest and back are so big that they fill out the shirt, and my waist is so narrow that it drapes across it. Right. And so the implication of the narrowness can do just as much to show off the physique as the actual demonstration of the narrowness. Make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you'll
Yeah,
feel more comfortable in it too.
Yeah, it's just coming from a place of like, whenever I try on linen, I always feel like it's just always cut so big and loose and drapey, and maybe that's just the brands I've been trying. So that's like where this is coming from, if that makes
Gotcha.
sense.
Yeah, and I think that honestly, this is probably where going the custom route is going to be the best bet for you, because if we go with somebody like a Proper Cloth or a Beckett and Robb or somebody else, then you can get it so it does fit perfectly in the shoulders, and it's got a relatively snug fit in the chest. And then we just add a little bit extra to the measurements in the sleeves and in the waist, so that we get the drape where we want it, we get the snugness where we want it. Because you're right, most of the time, if you're buying stuff off the rack, the way that these companies will get that slouchy linen fit is to just make their pattern boxy and oversized, and it doesn't actually execute that well.
I always feel like I have like 6 inches of too much material on either
Mhm.
side of my waist,
Right.
and it'll kind of like fit on the shoulder chest area, but it's just, if I lift up my arms, I've got bat wings, you know. So
Yeah,
that's
because the
that's where
armholes are big ovals and everything and all of that. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah,
Okay.
that's where that's coming from.
Okay. So it sounds like we're talking about doing some sort of a linen button up, right?
Yeah, either that. I'm thinking of like a navy, like a navy khaki pant combo,
Okay.
something like that. A navy long sleeve, so I can roll up the sleeves maybe out in the day, but at night, if we end up just going straight to dinner or something like that, I could also wear it out at dinner time as
Mhm.
well. So that's kind of where I was leaning towards. I don't know if it necessarily has to be linen, because it's not going to be the middle of summer, but
Right.
a looser weave cotton or something like that in a dark navy
Cool.
button up is where I was going with that.
I like that a lot.
Something I can undo 2 buttons at the top. It'll look casual, but still, since it's a button up, have a collar and still be somewhat presentable.
Awesome. Okay. You tell me, you want to do linen, or you want to do like an Oxford weave or a seersucker or something else as the.
I always hear you say seersucker. Can you explain a little bit more about
Yeah,
that in
absolutely.
terms of
So
what kind of?
the only thing that you may run into, and I actually think you'll be fine with this, is seersucker is a pretty classic like Americana, but it depends on how you do it. So technically what it is it's a weave of cotton that gets this like puckering that happens in there. And so there's a
Right.
lot of like waviness that happens. And so it allows for airflow, and it wears pretty cool. I actually just got this shirt myself this year, and it's been one of my favorites to wear this summer. Most of the time when you think of it, you probably think of like Southern gentlemen who wear it where it's the like white on blue variation of the stripe. And so that's where it gets this very like, we're going to the Kentucky Derby, or like, you know, we're gonna go we're gonna go burn crosses in somebody's yard or wherever else, right? Like you get that very Southern kind of feel to it. But when you go navy on navy, that takes a lot of that Southern Americana component out of it. And I think you could do this fairly well in Greece.
Yeah, this feels like it's down by the water, a little bit of nautical theme to it almost,
Yep.
with the stripes, similar to like how your shirt has stripes. I know they're horizontal, but almost that stripe aspect, I feel like brings it a little bit more towards, yeah, getting away with feeling like it's in the Mediterranean.
Awesome.
I don't know. Maybe that's maybe that's just me, but
No, I think you're right. I think you're right. That very much has a kind of like coastal feel to it. and they like a warm, humid environment, like all of that type of feel to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Exactly. Yeah.
awesome. Okay, so we're gonna say sleeves rolled, top 2, I would say 3, depending on where you are, buttons undone.
Mm-hmm.
Tucked, I would argue tucked, because that's also going to show off the physique for you.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. So as long as we get this right, color wise and fit wise, that's going to be good for your body. Archetype, do you feel like that checks those boxes pretty well?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Tribe, I think that this works really well with what you're trying to communicate with the brand and everything, especially is it Greco Gum? Is that your
Yeah.
company? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I've
That is.
seen some of the marketing and I think this is totally on point with that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You
Yeah, we're trying
excited
to go
about
for
that?
the aesthetic. Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Okay. And then effort wise, obviously you'll be able to wear this a lot more than just for this particular photo shoot or this trip.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you're thinking khakis for this, or are you thinking something a
Well,
little bit lighter? Like, tell me where your head is.
I know that the khaki combo, it like seems like the natural choice. My only concern, and this is what you said with Kenneth here too, is I don't want to go end up in like the Docker's dad
Mhm.
khakis. Like, but I don't know of a good alternative. So that's kind of where I'm stuck. I want it to be more rakish, more rugged. So I don't want like a fine khaki where it's like you said, I'm looking like I'm at Best Buy, especially if it's tucked, because then I'm really gonna feel like I have to nail the pant combo,
What
because
about
I
doing a
don't want it
white
to.
chino instead of a khaki color?
Okay, yeah, yeah, there you go. I like that.
Right?
That's a little, yeah, that plays more rakish. Like that's a harder combo to pull off, I feel
Yeah.
like.
Yeah, I think so too. Okay, so we'll do a white chino. Do you want to do this relatively simple, like flat front, no cuffs? It almost looks more like it's a casual style, like a jean chino, or do you want to dress it up and go a little bit more like we were doing with Ken, where we're looking at like pleats, higher waisted, cuffs, those types of things? Because you could go either way with this.
Right. I was thinking for it to be a little bit more rakish or rugged, that it would be cuffed at the bottom, but
Okay.
I'm not sure, because I don't usually wear things cuffed, and I don't want it to veer into the territory of like I'm pairing it with some what are the sandals there
The
that like
espadrilles.
people, no, the ones that like people wear in San Francisco,
Oh,
the like double
the
banded,
Birkenstocks.
yeah, Birkenstocks. Like
Uh-huh.
I don't want it to be like rolled up, and I wouldn't wear Birkenstocks, but I don't want it to feel too much like that, like I'm a little too hippie. So
Gotcha.
I
Okay.
do want it to lean into more of the refined and the rakish side rather than that side, if that makes sense.
So like if we wanted to go more refined, this is where, and as always, ignore the models, but like
Mhm.
this is where we would go with it. And this with that navy seersucker shirt. And then depending on what we do with the shoes, like you've got the thicker waistband, you've got the pleats. I think something like this would be killer.
Yeah, yeah, I think so too. I
Okay.
think that would look really good,
Awesome.
especially without the belt. I think
Right?
that's gonna
Yeah.
look really like almost a little bit towards the casual side, but then it's also very refined. So
Yep.
you know,
Yep. You got it. You
you're
totally got
pulling
it.
from two sides there.
You totally got it. Awesome. Okay. So we're going to say white chino, high waisted, pleated, and then side adjusters. Awesome. Okay. Again, body, we know that that's going to work, especially with it fitting. Like, as long as you get this to fit really well in the seat, basically, as long as you can make your ass look good in it, if it flows everywhere else, then that's also going to be good proportions there. So we know we're going to be good there. Archetypes, I think this hits that really well. It's the I'm dressing this way because I want to, not because I have to, which is what we want. A lot of that refined embodiment. Again, tribe, I know the direction you're going with a shot like this, and I think this nails it. So I think we're pretty easy on all of this, right?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. What do you want to do for shoes?
So for the shoes, I'm thinking uh the some of the espadrilles that I was looking at, I think that rather than like the sandal ones or where they have a lot of, they're just like a bunch of leather straps woven
Mhm.
together. I'm not too much of a fan of those, but what I have been seeing is like a very, like a softer leather slip on uh that feels casual. It's not like a hard leather slip on.
Like these?
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Something like these
Yep.
is what I was leaning towards. Um, the only thing I'm unsure of is kind of color. Like maybe uh, that's that's just where I'm sort of unsure about.
Okay. So what I would recommend is if we're trying to maximize versatility, your best bets are going to be either a mid brown like this or going
Mhm.
into like a dark blue navy territory.
Okay.
Okay. So either of these I think will work really well. Either of these will be fantastic with this outfit, and they will also be really good to wear for like the rest of the trip on other days and things like that. Right.
Right.
If you want something that's more of a statement piece, then that's where you get into some of these other more unique colors where things get just a little bit more interesting that way.
How do you feel about if you go scroll back up, just that like almost red brown there to the top right
This one
when we're
here,
up? Yeah.
you could do
Is
that. That's
that
pretty versatile too.
okay?
Yeah.
Okay, that's not too far out there.
Nope.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
because my rakish side sees the like the classic brown or the classic blue up at the top and feels like a little too safe.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want to go so crazy, like you said, where it's just a one-time wear. Or I'm only
Right.
going to be able to wear it on special occasions. So I kind of like that other brown to the bottom there.
Checks that a
I think
little
that
bit
that
more.
kind of, yeah, it's just a slightly off from what you might typically expect.
Awesome. I think that's great. And the other thing to remember with this is that just the style of shoe itself is already going to be checking a lot of rakish boxes for you.
That's true. That's true. I don't want to fall into trying to go too crazy, like you
Yeah,
said. Just if I pull off the things correctly, the basics, I'll be standing out plenty.
exactly. All right. So I'm assuming we're doing no socks or at least just like a no show, correct?
Yeah, no
Okay.
show. I think will be good, especially since we'll be walking around a lot.
So for outerwear, because it gets that cool in the evening, where my head goes, especially with this being kind of like drape and flow and all of that, would be to do something like a thicker knit cardigan,
Okay.
something that we could wear that's going to, I don't know how.
I'm okay with that if it's not too, again, too refined or
Yes. So I
too
mean,
old dad cardigan, if that makes sense.
totally. Because what we don't want is like a Mr. Rogers cardigan, right?
Right.
And so the best way to make sure that that doesn't happen is by going with something that has like a
Ooh,
lot of texture,
I like this brown.
right? And like big buttons, a lot of texture, a big sweeping collar. Like this
Mhm.
isn't going to read
No,
Mr.
not at all.
Rogers and like safe refined at all. And this is gonna layer really well over the other stuff that you're wearing.
Yeah, especially since it's not a completely solid color. It kind of has that little
The Donegal.
tan knit. Yeah, it has a little
Mhm.
bit of a lot of texture, but then also like those little speckles of light brown in there, I think
Yeah.
really stand out well.
This one would actually be really cool too because of how well it would pair with those other espadrilles. You got the
Absolutely.
red on red and you're kind of bookending yourself on both ends with it.
Yeah, I really like this.
Okay, cool. So we're gonna say Huckberry, chunky shawl, collar, cardigan. Awesome. Okay. Do you want to do anything headwear wise?
Um, I think just pulling this off will be enough. Like, part of me wants to go super crazy, but I've never been really too big of a headwear person, so I think it might be a little too much. Maybe in the future, for
Mhm.
sure, experiment a little bit more with it, but I feel like it might be an overload where I'm starting to feel too much like that character rather than
Totally agree.
myself.
I don't think you
If
need
that
it.
makes sense.
I think that
Yeah,
what you're doing is already what both of you guys have done is a really good execution of unique pieces done in subtle ways. And so you don't need to rely on statement pieces or wild colors or bold patterns because everything that you've done is just like slight variations on other stuff. And so it communicates what you're both trying to communicate really well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I
Okay.
think just when you put it all together too, they all stack up on top of each other, and
It's the
then before
synergy
you
of it.
know it, yeah, before you know you're already standing out without really having to. So
Absolutely. Okay. Eyewear, or are you on the no sunglasses train? That's where I jumped a few years ago. Aesthetically, I'm sad
okay.
about it, but I feel like I don't sunburn anymore, and my circadian rhythm is better since I stopped wearing sunglasses.
I mean, I sometimes wear sunglasses, but I have no problem wearing them if I'm not wearing them.
Hmm.
So I might lean that way. I have sunglasses that I'm feel okay about, but have been wanting to get a new pair. So here I'm a little unsure. Maybe for the sake of simplicity, I'll say no sunglasses.
Have you heard of these guys? Their name sucks. It's the Bespoke Dudes, which is really pretty bad. But
Mhm.
um, they do these. Some of them
Mm,
are pretty out there and kind of crazy, but they
right.
have, man, unless we just have their old, I want their old collection. Something like these, especially in a bolder color, could be pretty dang cool. Like you do those with a blue reflective lens, and that could
I
be pretty fun.
I have a pair almost exactly like that coming in that are blue light blockers, and I was thinking at least for dinner maybe or something like that. How depending on how I feel about them, if I get used to them, that I might wear those.
Okay.
Um,
Will you send me
so we
pictures
can
when
throw
those
that
come
for
in?
now. I will. Yeah, I
Okay.
will, just to make sure
Okay.
that they're checking all the boxes.
Perfect. Okay. And then what about accessories? Do you want to do a
Here,
watch, necklace, bracelets, anything like that?
I'll definitely do just the my gold necklace that I typically wear.
Okay.
And the watch that I have is a fairly nice Seiko. It's a just a dive watch, but it's
Hmm.
black. And I don't know if that's really going to be too chunky or too out of place there.
I think that's not the
Um,
right fit.
yeah, exactly. So I think if I did anything with a watch, it would have to be maybe more of like a leather strap,
Hmm.
something in that camp, or just no watch and maybe go with like some bracelets or something like that,
Yeah, like a
depending.
small cuff
Obviously,
or
I want to.
something.
Yeah, just something to uh accent the whole look.
Okay. Where do you want to go? What do you want me to put in?
Um, so there's this bracelet that I saw in a shop that I'm gonna about to buy. It was like $80, and I'm like, it's a rope bracelet, and
Oh,
this was
cool.
like 2 years ago, and I was like, I can't afford it now, and then I'm like, but when I make money, I'm gonna buy this stupid rope bracelet just because I
You
can,
can now.
and
And so it's a
so
mark of that like accomplishment if I've arrived somewhere with my, well, yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
yeah. It's a pig and hen like rope bracelet. And I'm like, this is so ridiculous that this is $80, but I just want to do it because it means something to me now that I
Yes.
can do it. So I think I'm
Perfect.
gonna do that. It's navy with a little silver and I'm gonna purchase that. I think this will be a perfect occasion for
I
that.
think that's awesome. And just the one little thing where you're not getting overly reliant on those. But again,
Mhm.
it's just like, oh, there's a story here, and that's fascinating. Most guys aren't wearing something like that. Like that'll all come across in the photos and all of that. Because that's where we get into this feels natural and well worn, congruent, authentic, as opposed to like becoming a costume.
Yeah, not like throwing on a million bracelets just to
Exactly.
pull in rakishness.
Exactly. Awesome. Okay. So comfortable. Feel like this will all wear pretty well, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Good durability. I think so, especially by going like we're doing yeah, you'll have good like wear through the whole day type of abilities with this stuff, which I know is what we were talking about. Okay. Good range of motion. I think it checks that Greek autumn, especially with this, like it fits that really well. And especially because none of these things, I think if we were doing linen in the trousers, they would be too light to be comfortable wearing in the evenings. But because we're
Mhm.
looking at something that's more in a cotton territory, the white will help with the sun reflection during the day, but then the thickness of the material will help it still be a little bit better as far as wearing in the evenings. And so I think you'll be good there.
Definitely.
Awesome. Okay. You feel like this is a good like owner market fit as far as the brand and what you're trying to represent there?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, this is going to be really nice.
Awesome. We'll be able to get a few reps in this before you go, so it feels natural and you feel like yourself in it, right? Okay.
Absolutely.
And then, yeah, if we do this right, as far as the fit is concerned, I think it'll show off the physique really well too.
Perfect.
Awesome. Okay. Fun to think about this stuff this way, right, guys? Yeah.
Definitely. No,
Definitely, yeah.
It really, like, the amount of times that I have landed on something entirely different than what I expected to wear just by going through that process is kind of insane. And so it's really fun. And sometimes it can be really fun to think about it, even with the stuff that you currently own. And so I would encourage you guys one day this week on like a given work day, or maybe it's a date night or something else, just kind of look at what are some things that I can pair up that I don't normally do by using this sheet, and put in some reps that way with it. Cool. Okay. Well, I kept you guys a little bit long, but thanks for hanging out with me. With a few of those, I'm going to just DM you guys links with some of those that we were looking at, because I know that that can kind of get lost in here. And so, Nick, I know for you, it was the Sabas, the Ralph Lauren trousers, and then that Huckberry cardigan. Ken, did we look at anything specific you want me to go back and find links on?
What would be most helpful would be some brand suggestions for the suit.
Okay. Okay. I'll DM you some options on that. Okay.
Thank you.
Perfect. Okay. Thanks for hanging out, guys.
Thanks.
Okay. Have a good one. See ya.
all right. Take care. Bye.
Bye.